All right, well, welcome to The Point Church. We are so glad that you guys are here. On my way up to talk to you guys today, I received a text. And the text simply said, and this is from my good friend Greg Rowe, he said, "What's your best time?" Which is so interesting because what we're going to be talking about today is just that, okay? And I'll get to that here in a second. But let me ask you a question. How many of you, by a show of hands, okay, I want to see your hands because this is an amazing looking audience today. I want to see your hands. How many of you are like here today? Whether you're online or in the room, how many of you are just here? And by that, I mean you're present, okay? You're just you're listening, and I can tell by the show of hands, some of you are here and some of you may not be, okay? However, I'm going to guess that all of you, because we're just now starting, are here. But I will tell you that it won't be long till I lose some of you. And how do I know? Because most of you brought your cell phones today. And as soon as that thing vibrates, as soon as that thing tickles your wrist, because some of you can't even get far enough away from your cell phones not to have it even attached to your wrist. Anyway, that's a sermon for another day. But it's going to, unfortunately, distract you, okay? You will be present in the room, but your mind won't be. You'll be physically here, but mentally you're going to shift away from where you're at, okay? And the truth is, we can all get so easily distracted, okay? And so I am glad that you guys are with us today. I really am. We're in this series entitled There's a Better Way. And so I'm really glad that you guys are here in the moment, present, at least for now, right? Okay, some of you were about to lose. So last week, we talked about Jesus' first miracle. If you were here and you were present, you may have remembered that we talked a little bit about Jesus' first miracle, which was at a wedding feast. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about the context of that and drive where we're going today. So it had to be incredibly embarrassing, you see, for the master of ceremonies at this wedding to have run out of wine, okay? Now, this may have been a week to 10 day worth of ceremony and celebration and all these different things that went on with this Jewish wedding that Jesus was at. And at some point, they ran out of wine. How embarrassing could that be, okay? And so Mary, Jesus' mother, she kind of nudges Jesus and she's like, "Jesus, take care of this," okay? And Jesus does. He tells the servants, "Now go get some of those big vats, those big jars over there." And what we know about the jars is they were ceremony jars. And so these weren't just like small little jugs. I'm talking about these were like 20 to 30 gallon jars. He says, "Go get those big jars and fill them up with water." And then he told the servants, he says, "I want you to dip out of those containers. I want you to dip out of there that water, and I want you to take it to the master of ceremonies and give him a drink." And they did. They go to the master of ceremonies and they dip the water out of the jugs the jars that Jesus had told them to fill with water. Okay, and this is what happens. The master of the ceremony, he says this. He says, then he called the bridegroom aside and says, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink." Okay? So in other words, the water at some point has changed to wine. And when the master of ceremony drinks it, he goes, "Oh my gosh, this is like the best wine I've ever tasted in my life." And usually, that's the stuff that comes out first of the week, not the last part of the week. We wait, after everybody's had too much to drink, and then we bring out the Mad Dog 2020. But this is the good stuff, okay? And he says this, "But you have saved the best till now." And sometimes I've told this story and I've actually misquoted scripture because actually what the Greek text says, and sometimes how I've mistranslated it is that you've saved the best for last. It's not what he says. He says, you have saved the best till now. And I will tell you something. Today's message is entitled, Your Best Days Are Now. And I believe that to be so very true. That your best days are right in the moment, are right now. And so this is what I'd like for you to do as we start into this sermon today. Turn to the person sitting next to you and just tell them that. Hey, your best day is today. Your best day is now. Okay? Go ahead and do that. Now, while you're talking to the person next to you, telling them how much today is amazing and their best time is right now, we're in this series just entitled, There's a Better Way. And what we're doing is not only looking at the truths of Jesus, okay? We have to do that. The truths of Jesus are important, but there's more to it than just the truths. I think we need to look at the way in which Jesus lived out these truths and apply them to our lives. Walk the way that Jesus walked. Talk the way Jesus talked. Live the way Jesus lived. Love the way Jesus loved, okay? The way in which he did things. And that's what we're talking about in this series. And one of the things that you notice about the way of Jesus is when he engaged with someone, anyone, when he engaged with people, it's like he gave them what I'm going to talk about is this undivided attention. No matter who he was interacting with, what he was doing, he always was present in the moment with that person. With that person. Let me ask a question. How many of you would say that's you all the time? Wherever you're at, man, you're just right in the moment. You're just living in the moment. I'm going to guess that, sometimes we all struggle with that. Let me give you a couple of back-to-back illustrations of what I'm talking about with Jesus. Two very different people, okay? Same town, same time frame, but Jesus gives them both his undivided attention. So Jesus is walking into a town, and actually it's in Luke's gospel that this is talked about. He's walking into the city of Jericho. Now, Jesus' popularity has really taken off. There's a lot of people following him alongside of him. And you would almost call it chaotic, okay? People are clamoring around Jesus, wanting to touch him, wanting him to heal them, wanting to talk with them. I mean, it was just chaos wherever Jesus went at this point, okay? So he walks into Jericho, and all of a sudden there was this man, and he was just a poor beggar, okay? He was just a poor beggar, and he was blind. He was blind, and his name was Bartimaeus. Blind Bartimaeus is who we're talking about. And so as Jesus is walking by, he can hear the crowds. He knows that Jesus has to be close. He's heard that Jesus was coming to town. And all of a sudden, he starts screaming towards Jesus. Jesus, Son of David, here I am. Have mercy on me. Don't pass me by. I mean, he's making a spectacle out of himself in the midst of all the chaos that's already going on around Jesus. And what we see is all of a sudden the disciples get a little incensed with Bartimaeus. They're like, hey, whoa. Hey, Jesus is an important guy. He's got places to go. He's busy. He's got agendas. He isn't going to stop. He does not have time to stop alongside the road, especially for beggars like you. And the disciples, the scripture actually says the disciples rebuked this blind beggar, Bartimaeus. They said, go away. But Luke 18 says this. Those that led the way rebuked him and told him to be quiet, talking about the beggar. But he shouted even more, Son of David, have mercy on me. Then it says this, Jesus stopped. Jesus stopped and ordered that the man be brought to him. And when he came near, Jesus said to him, "What do you want?" "Lord, I want to see," he replied. And Jesus stops in the middle of the crowd, in the middle of the chaos, in the middle of everything that's going on. He had an agenda. He had a place to be. But Jesus takes time to be with this blind beggar. He asks him what he wants. He wants to be healed. Jesus speaks some prayer, right? He prays to God. He speaks some faith upon this guy, and he is healed. Okay? Notice that Jesus stopped. Jesus stopped, and I want you to consider this for just a moment. Jesus stopped for someone who probably most people wouldn't stop for. He gave the man, he spoke to the man with integrity and dignity, asked him what he wanted. The man just simply wanted to be healed. Obviously, he had faith in who Jesus was. Called him, son of David, which is demonstrating that he had an understanding of who Jesus was. Okay? And then Jesus heals him. The consecutive story is also in Luke. If you just turn the page from chapter 18, chapter 19, Jesus is actually walking through. It says now he's in Jericho, but he's passing through. He's got a place to be, somewhere to be. He has a destination to go to. And as he's kind of passing through Jericho, there's this dude in a tree. Yeah. His name's Zacchaeus. So Zacchaeus must have been short in stature, and who knows. But he's brilliant because he found a tree. Sycamore tree. It says he climbs up into this tree so that he could just at least see Jesus as he was passing by. Well, obviously, somebody hanging out of a tree might get your attention. It got Jesus' attention, right? And as Jesus is passing by, he sees Zacchaeus hanging from this tree, and he stops. Okay? He stops and he talks to Zacchaeus. Okay? And so let me tell you a little bit about Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus, in this crowd of people, was probably one of the most hated of people. He was considered a tax collector. And for whatever reason, and there might be some good reason behind it, because sometimes they were very corrupt in how they collected their taxes. We don't know for sure if that was Zacchaeus or not. But many times tax collectors were cheated people. And so they were hated. And so here is a wealthy man of the city who's hated by everyone else. And Jesus stops and he talks to him. As Jesus is passing through, again, he stops in the middle of the chaos to address an individual. Jesus has already been interrupted by a poor blind beggar earlier. And now he's interrupted by a rich tax collector. And what I love about Jesus is that no matter what, I believe Jesus has time for everyone. Whether you're down and out or you're up and out, Jesus has time for you. It doesn't matter where you've come from, how much baggage you've got, how dirty you are, how rich you are. Jesus cares about you, and Jesus is willing to stop. He's willing to stop and be with you. He even did it for someone like Zacchaeus. You know who Zacchaeus is. Let me tell you who Zacchaeus is. Okay? Zacchaeus, sing along with me if you know the song. Zacchaeus was a wee little man, and a wee little man was he. He climbed up in a sycamore tree for the Lord he wanted to see. And as the Savior passed that way, he looked up in the tree and he said, Zacchaeus, you come down, for I'm going to your house today, for I'm going to your house today, for I'm going to your house today. All right, so I'm glad you guys sang that with me. If you grew up in church at all and drank the Kool-Aid, you know what song I'm talking about. You left home with a ring around your mouth of the Kool-Aid and singing Zacchaeus was a wee little man. Okay, So, at the end of that song, you notice that Jesus invites himself over to Zacchaeus' house, and that's exactly what the scriptures tell us. He invites himself over to Zach's house for lunch. Jesus stops in the middle of, it says that he's just simply passing through. He's got to go somewhere. He needs to be somewhere, but he stops to be with Zacchaeus. He's interrupted by a beggar, a lowly beggar. Now he's got a no-good sinning tax collector that he's hanging out with. And this tax collector, Zacchaeus, has his full attention, and it's amazing. Apparently during this lunch, they're eating, and Jesus is talking to this tax collector, and at some point, this tax collector gets it. And there's something deep down inside of him that repents. That just says, listen, I've done some really bad things. I've hurt some people. I'm sorry. I can't do anything to make that up. I just can't. But I will sell half my possessions and give 4 times back to anybody that I've hurt or wronged. Okay? And he repents and he turns himself over to Jesus. And Jesus says these amazing words to this tax collector. Jesus said to him, salvation has come to this house because this man too is the son of Abraham. For the Son of Man, have you ever wondered what Jesus' mission statement is? I think it's right here. The mission statement of Jesus should be our mission statement. Jesus said, for the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost. Zacchaeus, the tax collector. Again, someone that most people wouldn't hang out with. Jesus does. And he says, salvation has come to you, my friend. For I came to seek and save the lost. But what I noticed the most is that Jesus just simply gave his undivided attention. In the moment, he stops and he gives people one of the greatest gifts that he can give them. His love and grace, his forgiveness. He can demonstrate all those things, but the most important thing to get to that point where he can actually share those things is he gives people his attention. Jesus was fully present in the moment. I don't know about you. I want to be like that. Aren't people like that attractive? I mean, aren't they attractive? When you're with someone who just makes eye contact with you and ask those questions that you want to be asked and seems to be engaged in the conversation that you're having, don't you want to just be around people like that? And I want to be that person. Unfortunately, like many of you, many times I'm not. Okay? And I've been praying. I told you this last week. I've been praying, God, change my heart. Change my heart to not only be more fully engaged with Jesus and at a deeper level, but to love other people, to be engaged with other people more fully. In other words, I want my mind to be where my feet are. I want my mind to be where my feet are. I want to not just live in the happy moments. Think about this. Sometimes we're searching for the next best thing. We're searching for the next happy moment instead of engaging in the moment that we're in. And so I don't want to just be in those happy moments or those mountaintop moments or those powerful moments or those outward meaningful moments that we can definitely have in life. But I want to find myself present in all moments, where I'm at, in the moment, right now. I even want to be in those moments that are annoying. Anybody ever been in annoying moments? You might be in one now. Please don't point to the annoying, moment sitting next to you. I'm kidding. All right. So I guess it's time for me to ask. Are you still with me? Are you still present? Are you still here? Anybody's phone go off and then you traveled away for a little bit and now you're back? Okay. Are you present with me right now? Okay, you're here physically, but maybe mentally you checked out. Okay, let's draw you back in. Because statistically, odds show us that I've lost some of you already. Okay, about half of you, honestly. Actually, Harvard did a study, and this is what they found. Harvard did a study. 47%, okay? That's right at 50. That's pushing 50% of the time. People's minds are not where their feet are. 50%, 47%, almost 50% of the time that you're in a conversation, your mind isn't. 47% of the time means this. Now, 47% of the time that you're sitting in church, or you're at dinner with your family, or engaged with somebody at work, or you're talking with somebody at the gym, or maybe you're in the life group, almost half of your life, you're not fully engaged with whatever or whoever is right in front of you. That's incredible. Excuse me. That's an incredible amount of time that we're not fully engaged in the moment. Almost half our waking lives, we're not fully engaged with the rest of our body, where we're at. How about this? I'm gonna pick on, I keep picking on cell phones in this series because, well, they need to be, okay? Do you realize that the average cell phone user touches this thing 2,600 times, actually over 2,600 times a day. 2,600 times a day. Again, 2,600 times a day, you're picking this thing up, reaching for this thing, looking at this thing, looking at somebody else, looking at this thing, looking at somebody else, looking at this thing, okay? That's what this means, right? You're constantly doing this, constantly looking at this. 2,600, that's a lot, okay? By the way, how many of you actually clean your cell phone after 2,600 times a day? Okay, So whenever you grab this, stop and think about this. Whenever you're in a conversation with someone else, whenever you're talking with someone else, and you grab this thing, what you're saying is, hey, just a second, man. Just a second. I got a notification, and it's by far more important than what we're doing right now. I've got a TikTok, I got a new thing, I got a stupid cat video I got to look at. My friends are always sending me these conspiracy theories that I've got to, look at, and I got to check this to see if I've got any likes on my Facebook because I just posted something the other day, or how about this one? How many of you have that friend? How many of you, you know where I'm going with this, and it may be you. If you don't have the friend, you might be it, right, type of thing? How many of you have a friend that when their phone vibrates, it could just be an alarm going off or something like this, but they look at it and they're like, oh, hey, whoo, that's pretty important. I got to leave now, right? They actually intentionally use their phone to check out, okay? You know these people. You may be one of them. I know I have been. Did I just say that? All right, anyway. Thousands of times a day, you aren't with wherever or whatever or whoever you're with in front of you because you're checking out your phone, okay? And let's talk about this. Some of you are just like, nope, I put the phone away, I put the phone aside. But some of you may be like me, and you play games. You check out of conversations because you're playing mind games with yourself. First mind game is the when-then game, okay? I might be fully engaged in a conversation, then all of a sudden my mind shifts. And it's kind of like, that day when happens, then I'm going to be happy. When this happens, I will be happy. When that happens, I'll be happy. And your mind starts playing these games. You just start rolling through this, okay? I do this all the time. I don't know why. You think back, junior high. Man, when I get out of junior high, then I'm going to be in high school. And then you find out that when you get to high school, you're a freshman. And then you start thinking, man, when I'm a senior, then I'm going to be happy. And then you start thinking, man, when I get out of here and I go to college, then I'm going to be happy. And then you start thinking, wow, if I can just get out of here and get a real job and pay off some of that debt, then I'll be happy. And then I start thinking, excuse me, if I could just get married, then I would be happy. And then if I could just have children, then I would be happy. And then when they're not in diapers any longer, obviously we'll be happy when we're not doing that any longer. And then when they're grown up and I'm in diapers, they're going to be happy. Those kind of things start running through your mind. And what happens is that sometimes, instead of being in the moment, Instead of being in the moment with the person you're with or whatever you're doing, you're wishing your life away. If I could just get through this and to the next thing and to the next thing and to the next thing. And I think that's a bad place to be when you start wishing away what maybe God is putting right in front of you. Did you hear me on that? Sometimes we start wishing away where we're at currently, and possibly what we're doing is wishing away exactly what God has for you. Okay? There's a second game that we can often play, and that's the what if game. The what if game, we start projecting into the future. If things happen, okay? What if this happens? What if that happens? It kind of looks something like this. What if I don't pass that test? You're back in high school. What if I don't pass that test? And then I don't get these good grades, and then I don't get into the right college, and then because I didn't get the right college, I won't find the right girl, and if I don't find the right girl and go to the right college, I'm probably not going to get a good job, and so then we're going to be poor, and now I don't have the right woman, I don't have the right job, and we're probably going to have dumb kids, and they're going to have crooked teeth because I can't afford braces, and therefore I'm going to have dumb kids with crooked teeth, and it's all because I can't pass this test. You see how things can snowball, right? You see how things can snowball. We start playing the what if games. What if this happens? What if the government does this? What if the economy starts to fail? What if what if aliens attack? I don't know. What if, on and on and on and on and on we can go. And Jesus says these important words to us. If you're constantly playing the what if game, and you're not in the moment, you're worried about the future, Jesus says this in Matthew chapter 6, stop worrying. As a matter of fact, it's almost a command. He says, therefore, do not worry. He says, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. What I like about Jesus was he's not anti-planning. He's not saying don't plan for the future. He's not saying don't plan for tomorrow. Don't think about the things that you may get to do or have to do or put plans in place. What he's saying is stop worrying about it. Live in the moment. Live in the moment. I've given you a moment right now. Stop worrying about the future. Have faith in me that things are going to be okay. So it's that time again. All right? It's that time again. Are you with me? All right? Are you with me? How many of you, your phones have gone off and you're worried about lunch or you're thinking about plans because somebody's dinging you with a text or you have to check your Facebook post? Come back. Because I'll tell you something, it's hard to stay in the present. It's hard to stay in the moment. It's so easy to get distracted in our culture, in our time, in our day. Lean into this. Why do you think it's so easy? Hear me on this. Why do you think it's so easy to get distracted? Why is it so easy to not be fully engaged and present with whatever or whoever you're with in this moment right now? I will tell you from a spiritual standpoint, I'll tell you what I believe it is. Lean in, this is good, all right? This is where you need to put the coffee down and you need to listen to this. Why is it that it's so hard sometimes to be present in the moment with whatever or whoever you're with? Is that we have a lack of faith. And some of you are just like, what in the world does that mean? That doesn't, whatever. Hear me on this. Think about this. We just talked about it. Some people are so freaked out about something that happened in the past, and so they're trying to fix that, and they're trying to remedy to that, and they're trying to make sure that that gets undone so that people won't think negative of them or whatever. So many people are still living in the past that they can't live in a moment. Other people are so freaked out about what's going to happen in the future that they can't live in the moment. Some people are so freaked out about missing out on something else that may be happening right now that they can't be in the moment where they're at. They have FOMO. Okay, so sometimes it's just we're freaking out in life and we're missing out because we have lack of faith in what God can do in the moments we're in. See, I believe this. From a spiritual standpoint, think about this. That the only way that we can be present in the moment is to actually surrender the past that you cannot change and trust God with a future that you cannot control. Let me say that again because that's really good. The only way that we can be present in the moment is to actually surrender the past that you cannot change and trust God with a future that you cannot control. And I might also put in there, for those of you who have FOMO, fear of missing out on something that's happening in the present, is this. Maybe, just maybe, God is sovereign enough to put you in the place where you need to be, to plant you where you're at the right time, at the right place, for him to be in that moment, for you to be in that moment where he wants you to be. To have faith that that's what God can do. The only way to be fully present in the moment is to let go of the past and change, because you can't change what happened in the past, no matter what, and trust God with it. Just trust God with it. To surrender your future and trust God that he is good and he cares. And he's already there. He's there. He knows what's going to happen. He can redeem your past and he can be good into the future. You can be fully engaged with the person that's in front of you, with what you're doing, okay, in the present, the here and now. And it simply takes faith to do so. It takes faith in God to engage in the moment that he has you in right now. Let me talk about this for just a second. I wasn't sure if I wanted to talk about this, but I think this is a good place to talk about it. Imagine, if you will, an hourglass. You've all seen an hourglass, right? Or just, one of those hour keepers or sand keepers, but you know what I'm talking about. Timers, egg timer things. Think about the sand that's going through there. It's bottlenecked. It's big on the top, big on the bottom. It's all bottlenecked. The sand is rolling through there. And think about that as like the sands of your life, the time of your life and moments of your life that are running through that. And this is what I know. There's three things that just come to mind when I'm thinking about an hourglass. And the first one is this. You never really know. It's hard to just measure, okay, how much time is left in that top level, right? It seems like it's just going and going and going, and all of a sudden, it's just gone. And the same thing is true with our lives. Sometimes we have no way to predict how much time is left in our lives. Okay, how much time is left? There might be a lot there, and then again, it may be gone soon. The second thing is you can't stop the sand from coming through. And if you set an hourglass up or an egg timer up or whatever, and you watch that sand, if you leave it the way it's supposed to leave, there's no way for you to stop the sand. The same thing is true with time. Time just keeps going and going and going. Time passes, time passes, time passes. And this is what I know, that every single second, every single moment, every single day is a gift from God. And we should never waste it, and we should never wish it away, because time continues to pass on and pass on and pass on. And the third thing is this. Once time gets to the bottom, once the sand gets to the bottom, once the sand settles to the bottom, there's no way to push it back up to the top. It's just there. You can never get time back. In other words, once time is spent, it's gone. We can't go back in time. We can't go back and fix the problems of the past. The most important moment, hear me on this, and this is why I think that we have to understand that the most important moment that we have in our life is right now. The most important moment that we have in our life is right now. This minute where we're at. We could say that we're experiencing God right now. God is with us in this moment, right now with his people. And I think that's why King David said this in the Psalms 118. He said, this is the day that the Lord has made. All right, this is the day. This is the day. He didn't say yesterday was the day or tomorrow was the day. He said, this is the day that the Lord has made, so we will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. This is the most important time right now. The most important person that you're with is the person that you're with right now. The most important moment that you will have is the moment you're living in right now. The most important times that we will have aren't necessarily the mountaintop experiences. Many times the most important moments we have are those simple conversations with a friend, a parent, a family member. Some would say the smallest moments. It's been my experience have become some of the best moments. Please, I just beg you, don't miss the moments. It's easy for me. I get it. I want to push through. I look forward to the future. I think about the future. And sometimes because of that, I push through and miss the moments that I'm in. And I don't want to live with those regrets. And I'm sure you don't want to either. Please don't miss the moments. You see, when we look at the way that Jesus lived and the way that he loved and the way that he walked through this earth, not just the truths that he taught, because those are important and we'll always hold on to the truths, but literally the way that he walked along with people, many times interrupted, many times were inconveniences, but to him, they were the moments. They were the opportunities. They were the time to engage. They were time to show the goodness and the greatness and salvation and the love and the mercy, the grace of God the Father. Now, to be fair, none of this today was meant to be a guilt trip, because I got to be honest with you, I'm this guy. I think I've got ADD, man. I can't stay in the moment for 2 seconds, it seems like. I can hardly be anywhere, but I'm working on it. I'm working on it. And I'm praying that God will help me through it. And I hope you're working on it. I'm leaning in. I'm leaning into the moments, because moments matter. And I would say this moment matters. Tomorrow, not tomorrow, not next week, not the thing looming over our past or the worries of this world. Right now, in the moment, with who we are with right now, who's in front of me, who's behind me, who's beside me, these people matter, these moments matter. Listen, I will tell you, you guys matter to me. The only thing that I'm thinking about right now as I preach this sermon is you guys. Is you guys. The person next to you, I think they need to know that they matter to you. Let them know. Because when you live each moment with the person in front of you, it not only changes their lives, I believe that it changes your life, because you're becoming more and more like Jesus. See, I don't know who this is for. I don't know who this is for today. But I'm just going to tell you. You can't serve Jesus where you're not. You can't find happiness and fulfillment where you're not. You can't love people where you're not. If your mind's not there with your body 50% of the time, 47% of the time, says Harvard, you're missing out on a lot of life that God has for you. You can't be a great friend if you're not there. You can't be a great engaged parent if you're not there with your kids. You can't have a great marriage if you're not there. Until you recognize this, that in this moment, think about this, That in this moment, that in this appointed time, that in this appointed place, God could have put you anywhere, but he put you here. He put you here in this moment, wherever that moment is, whether it's in this room right now or where you will be here in another hour. God has given you an opportunity. He chose to drop you there. This is the day that the Lord has made. So be glad and rejoice in it. God has given us each the now moments to live in. Now in the moment to experience his grace. Now in the moment to experience his mercy. Now in the moment to experience his forgiveness. Now in the moment to experience his power and his freedom and his love and his mercy and his goodness. He is with us. Sense it in the moment. Now, in the moment, is holiness. Experience it. God is with us. If you're fully engaged with the people that God brings in front of you, can I tell you something? When you're pouring out your heart in the moment, knowing that tomorrow is not promised, when you're spending time with that person and engaging with that person, you're experiencing God in the moment because you're becoming more like his son, Jesus. Your best moment can be right now. Engaging in the moment. Engaging in the moment. And this is our prayer. This is our praise. Let's worship the God of the past and the future and the now. The God of the moment, because this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. God, we thank you for today. We thank you for moments such as this, where we're able to worship you, where we're able to just glorify you. And many times the way we do that is by interacting with whoever or whatever is in front of us in the moment. God, help us to be in the moment, to experience you in the moment, to glorify you in the moment, to share you in the moment. We know that tomorrow is not promised, but the now is. So Lord, allow us to be present in the now. We thank you for Jesus, who modeled what it means to be present with you and with others, to take those interruptions and make them opportunities. God, we thank you for Jesus and what he means to us. As in his name that we pray all things. Amen.